Entrepreneurs and small business owners, are you feeling overwhelmed by lack of capital, growth challenges, or personal branding? You are not alone. UCS Advisors is here for you. We're professional capital raising advisors committed to helping you secure funding and grow your business. Are you ready to impress investors? Check your investor readiness with our free 45-second quiz at ucsquiz.com. We believe in you. Visit ucsquiz.com and start your success journey. And remember, always be willing to achieve your greatness.
All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Greetings from the Garden State. I'm your host, Mike Ham. We're here with Rachel Ana Dobken.
Hello.
In your home studio, which is great. I love it. Yeah, for sure.
I was like, oh man, you're coming to my house. I don't know. Make sure I clean.
Yeah, right. I should have more people over to my house so that I actually do clean more.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
If you really want to clean, just have company.
Yeah, definitely. But we got drums here, guitar here. There's a keyboard behind me. You can kind of see it in that shot over there. But I'm really excited because this is like a big time for you right now. So we're recording this in September. It's going to come out in October. And you have a lot of things that are like happening right now, right? So let's talk about that, just because that's like very apparent. And we have a single releasing this week, which will be September 13th.
Yeah.
So it'll be out by the time this episode comes out. So talk to me a little bit about that, what it is, what you guys are doing, all that.
Yeah, so I've been working on music the past like 2.5 years. Really, like we started working on a record right at the start of COVID, like literally like went in the studio to cut scratch guitar like February 2020.
Yeah.
So it was like we went to cut drums and the next week and it was like, actually, we're shutting down. We can't. It was like literally the next day we were supposed to get in. So this whole record has been sort of this whole like myriad of like comedy of errors and like events that were happening. It was like between COVID and then studios were shutting down. And then we had some special guests and had to sort of like wait for some people to get on, and then other people didn't, and then other people came on. So it was an interesting project because I sort of started the project as a means of like, I wanted to work with different batches of songs with different producers. Like I really wanted to approach this record not as a record, but just as singles.
Yeah.
And I have, I'll be putting songs out as much as I possibly can. I'm sort of like told by people in the industry that it's still like, as much as the waterfall game is a thing of like releasing a single 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Like at some point people start losing interest and it's good to just get the record out. So I'm still working on my full release plan, but the song coming out this week, it's called Cruel, Cruel, Cruel. 3 Cruels.
Yeah.
It's a very angsty love song.
Okay.
It's very funny because like I listen back to my songs sometimes, like especially the like love songs, and I'm like, I can't believe I felt that way. This is so stupid and corny.
Yeah, it's tough to look back on a lot of things you do that you record.
Yeah.
And then be like, wow, what was I thinking?
Yeah. Well, like the funny thing is like it seems very like dramatic and intense, but the lyrics are meant to be very like tongue in cheek and funny. Like the lyrics, it's cruel, 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 the way you love to disappoint me. And I'm a fool, fool, fool to ever think you're going to change.
Yeah.
I was like in a really tough situation.
Sure.
Well, it actually was a situation that had ended. Okay. And this person who was my best friend and then became my ex-best friend and almost boyfriend totally cut and ran and just decided I'm never going to talk to you again.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of like this built up angst of like, I can't even have a conversation with this person. This has to come out. And I was just in the shower one day and I heard like the hook, which is like, cruel, 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 the way you love to disappoint me. And then like the whole rest of the song came.
Yeah.
In like 20 minutes, I have like a voice memo recording of like the shower running. I'm like, so that's the single coming out this week, and I play drums and guitar on it, and it's like a rip-in. It's sort of like a more punk version of a Rachel Ana Dobken song. It's really fast-paced, and I worked on the song with Eric Romero was the producer. And do you know Eric?
I don't.
He plays in the front bottoms, but he's also like just an amazing person, producer, artist himself. He's worked with so many artists. Like he did all like the early Deal Casino records and has a studio in Ocean. And, he was just like a really pivotal part of getting that song to sound the way I wanted it to. Like spent a lot of time in pre-production talking about tones and drum tones and influences, sonic references, and as we did with the whole record and the songs that we did. But But yeah, so this song, and then Dan Haas played bass, who's my bassist, my ride or die. He's been with me now for about like 6 years.
Wow.
And then Eric Rudick played guitar. Eric did an amazing job. Eric plays with the Parlor Mob and the Cold Seas, and now he's playing with a band called Back When, Wolf Speak. We all are all friends and kind of all play with each other.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know Eric or if you know any of those bands.
No.
Yeah, they're all Asbury bands, and yeah, so I don't know. I could go on and on. What do you want to know about this?
Well, no, I just think it was cool just to kind of like learn a little bit about it. And I do think it's interesting too, like, because we had, I'm not sure if we're going to still have the same intro song when this episode comes out.
Yeah.
Because we're going to start using a Jackson Pine song.
Love those guys.
Yeah, they're incredible. We had such a fun time recording that one down there with them in the Bog House that James lives in, which was
cool.
so much fun.
That's so awesome.
We went from Camden to the Pine Barrens that day. So it was like a huge jump.
Also, like, what a Jersey experience.
Literally, yeah.
Like, that's like what, and when you're in the Pine Barrens too, like, you the thing about New Jersey is like, as a state too, you forget that it's just like one giant piece of sand.
Yeah.
Like, and that we're really just on the coast.
Yep.
Like, whether we're here in the Pine Barrens, and it's just, there's so many beautiful parts, and like, and then places that have such character and just like energy, which is a place like Camden. So
just character, definitely a word. Yeah. Character's a word.
Nice.
Yeah, no. Listen, I mean, it has a lot of. I mean, I'm wearing a shirt.
I love that. I saw that.
Because we recorded with Donkey's Place, then drove out there and recorded with those guys. But it's just like, to your point too, like, or no, going back to what I was saying before. So that's what I think is interesting about releasing a record, especially like nowadays.
Yeah.
Is just the fact that like people don't necessarily like buy a record.
No.
Like I have a Spotify account.
Sure.
So I can like pick and choose like what songs
course.
I like from different people. Which I do think is kind of like back in the day, I would imagine like a record kind of takes you on like a little bit of a ride,
journey,
which is a little bit different. But the song we've been using for the first almost 100 episodes and 2 years is a song by Manny Cabo called Crazy.
Cool.
And he had a new album come out 2 years ago, and it was the same kind of thing. He was like ready to release the album, and then he was like, actually I'm going to do this 4 to 6 week kind of trickle out all the singles and then do it that way. It's just like an interesting kind of way to approach it.
Well, it is really interesting because this is such a bizarre time in music. It's great, but it's also terrible in the sense that just like if you're a real musician and you love records, which like I do, I mean I have like 3 of my favorite records out, it's like,
did you pick those specifically for this?
I did.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I had a podcast yesterday as well. And it's just like, I like to put things that represent what I love.
Sure.
Like I have all my vinyl down there and I was like, no, I want like Animals, which is my favorite Pink Floyd record. And then Derek and the Dominoes, Layla. And then I love Paul Simon, but that's one of my favorite records of his anyway.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, we're living in a time. I mean, I have had like months of lead up time to putting this record out because now I have a team behind me and I have publicists and social media, and it's been so many conversations about like the intention and timing of everything.
Yeah.
Because that is literally what the music industry is now. And people, the way they consume music is completely different.
Right.
Yeah. It's all streaming. And it also opens the can of worms of like, as an artist, it's very difficult to make money as a rock musician because you're not making $12 on a record anymore.
Right.
Just, it's the number, it's 0.001 or 0.004 cents per Spotify play. So you're really on Spotify to get exposure.
Yeah.
You're not on to make money. I mean, if you're like Taylor Swift, but even someone like Springsteen, who, I mean, he sold his entire catalog for like $550 million because he knew he was never going to see those kinds of numbers.
Oh yeah.
Just with streaming.
Right.
You know, so why not?
Yeah.
But it's interesting because I think, and I've been thinking a lot about that because I'm really proud of the songs and I want to make sure people hear them. So even if the record comes out, I'm still going to push and be like, all right, here's the song, everyone, check it out, or different alternate versions, you know?
Right.
So I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's interesting for sure. Okay. Maybe we should learn a little about you. Let's take it. So you're from this, because we're recording down in like, what is this, Monmouth County?
Yeah.
So down in Monmouth County.
Yeah.
Your bio on your Instagram says Asbury Park, but not necessarily Asbury Park,
Yeah.
but just kind of in the area. So take me through like early life for Rachel. Like what were you doing? Was it music always a thing? Family, were they musically into it?
Yep.
Like that kind of stuff.
So I grew up in Fairhaven, like Red Bank, Fairhaven area. And yes, I always was very, very into music. When I was about 5 years old, my mom gave me a best of Ed Sullivan tape.
Okay.
And it was the Beach Boys, the Rolling Stones, the Four Seasons, and the Beatles.
It's not bad.
Yeah. And I remember watching that tape as a 5-year-old and just having no hesitation, like, yep, this is what I'm going to do with my life.
Yeah.
Like that's going to be me one day. And as a child, like I always loved music. My dad was always playing, both my parents, but my dad was like pretty pivotal in the kind of music that he exposed me to, was like, you know, everything from the band to Steely Dan to Paul Simon and my mom was more like into the Stones and like Bowie and all that stuff. But yeah, and then I always just kind of found my way. Like my friends were always musicians. I didn't really study music until I was in college because I just didn't have like the opportunity. I mean, I took lessons, but I was a really nervous kid.
Yeah.
So the idea of performing on a stage was terrifying to me.
Yeah.
And I actually went the route of visual art instead. I was a painter and a drawer. I was actually going to go to school for art. I was going to go to school for studio art, but then I switched and ended up studying photography and music. And I went to Bard. And when I was there, my jazz professors, I was just like right place, right time. They saw me come in and say, oh, wow, this is this kid with like raw talent. And she's kind of untouched, right? Like you think about kids that grow up taking lessons or band, or they have these professors or teachers that sort of like mold them into what, and then it's hard to break those habits as you get older. I came in as like a blank slate, and then I started taking vocal lessons and guitar and drums, and all my professors saw how hard I worked. And it was just like the time I was ready for it. I wasn't really ready before then, but so yeah. And I did take some piano lessons as a kid, and then I moved to guitar, but then I always knew I was a drummer. So when I was 19, I like asked my parents, I said, listen, I want to take drum lessons for my birthday. And they said, okay. And then I started studying it in college, and I was studying jazz. So it was a lot more involved. But again, I had professors that really fostered and allowed me to, they gave me all the resources I needed. And they, you know, I stayed at Bard for an extra 2 years after I graduated and just sat in on classes and took lessons. It was like a really magical time. Yeah. So I just went through like the gamut. I realized you talked about childhood, but
that's great.
We could talk more about Jersey too. Like,
of course. Now we'll get there. Because we did a little bit before, but no, I do want to, like, that's interesting because kind of going through like, being like a visual art, kind of like having that in your head first, and kind of going down that road. So obviously like very artistic, but then kind of like pivoting almost and then going down a totally different road. But then that being like the best thing for you at that particular time, basically, which I think is really interesting. And then like when you're in that mode where you're just like, oh wow, like I am really good at this, or was it just kind of like, hey, everyone's telling me that I can, you know, I have talent or whatever. Yeah.
Well, I think for me, it's always been a knowing. Like for me, it's never been a choice. Yeah. It's been like if I'm not doing this, I'm not existing.
Okay.
Like for better or worse. And like there have been a lot of moments, especially in the last year, and especially as I am growing as an artist and there's more that I have to do. There are these moments where I feel like slave to my career, and I feel slave to like the fact that like, I can't quit music, no matter how much sometimes it's toxic and pains me. I'm like, I can't stop doing this. And that's why like people have said to me all along, like, you will be successful because you have that drive. And, you know, like for better or for worse, like I've lost relationships over it. I'm, you know, live with my mom to save money so that I can put out my record. Right. You know, I've made a lot of sacrifices for my career. Don't go out because I have to practice, or because the last 3 months of this summer has been, I don't think I've, besides going to shows, which has become my socializing time. Yeah. I haven't voluntarily like gone out or done anything because I'm just like, okay, we got gigs. I've got to get this video editing done. So it's like you get to that point where you're just kind of like, oh my God, I'm making all of these sacrifices. But for me, to go back to your question, no, it was always a knowing. Yeah. And like, it's interesting because I knew the two things I wanted to take a class in college was an analog photography class and an intro to music theory. And as soon as I took music, I was like, oh yeah, this is what I'm doing.
We're in.
Yeah. Like Bard is weird because you can't like pick your major. You have to be accepted. You go through this process called moderating. So for me, I never moderated because it would have meant financially spending 2 more years, and I couldn't afford that. But my professors, because I didn't start doing music really until I was a junior. I transferred to Bard. I was a photo major, and then I was like, no, I want to do music. Yeah. But I'm already on this path doing photography. Let me get my degree. But like my professors were like, don't worry about spending money. You just come here and absorb this information. Yeah. Because they could see that about me, and I just like. It's one of those things where it's just this itch. Like if I'm not doing music, or even I say to myself some days like, oh my God, like really just need to like get a husband, settle down. I need stability. Like, what's going on? Like, when am I going to like, oh my God. But I just know myself. And within like a month, I would just be like, I need to like get out there and get on the road. I need to play. I need to write. I need to jam with my friends. I need to like create, you know? So it's a blessing and a curse.
Yeah, for sure.
You know? Yeah.
So before you described yourself as like a rock musician, which I think is accurate. You're welcome. And then, but so at what point, like, so you're studying jazz, you're taking like music theory and the photography stuff. And like, was there a moment where you started going down this particular path in playing this style of music?
I've always, well, I'll put it this way. When I write music, I don't ever think about what's coming out of me. I've actually, and it's probably would be a good challenge for me, but I've never put myself into a box where I've been like, I'm going to write a song that sounds like this. Okay. Like even when I was in school, I remember being in comp classes and like jazz comp and like other writing classes where we'd have to bring pieces in. And I just would like write whatever.
Yeah.
I didn't have the pressure of like having to graduate. Like I didn't have the pressure of having to like pass the class, which was huge, you know? So I could just kind of come and go, and I had a job that I also had to work. So some weeks I wouldn't come, but I didn't have to do all the assignments, which is like huge. I think that's also a reason why it was so enjoyable for me.
Yeah.
Because I think if it was so much pressure, which is what happened in the photo department, I would have had a different relationship. But to answer your question, I don't ever think about what I write. It's just whatever comes out of me and what I just allow it to organically happen. Like I feel like right now but I love rock music. Like it's no surprise that what comes out of me is really an amalgamation of everything I love.
Sure.
Like I sometimes will write something more soulful. Like I love everything from like Pink Floyd to Thin Lizzy to Jeff Buckley to Incubus to Ray Charles and Thelonious Monk and like Kendrick Lamar or like Aretha Franklin. So sometimes I'll write something that's maybe a little bit more soulful.
Sure. Or
I'll write something that's much more in the vein of like Thin Lizzy. But it's like, it's just kind of like whatever I feel is speaking to me at that time. And right now I feel like I'm in this place where living in a much heavier rock world. Like I've been working a lot, like this last record, I worked a lot with the guys from the Parlor Mob, like Paul Ritchie being one of them, who was one of the producers. And like, it just feels like the self-titled track off the record is called Acceptance. And it is kind of like this like Sabbath meets Blind Faith track. It's like very, very heavy and thick. And we did the song with Paul and Eric and Rudick. And I just feel like that is the world where I want to go. Like it's the most fun song. I love playing that song. We all love playing that song. So I think for me, it's just probably like years of subconsciously absorbing music that then finds its way out of me.
Sure. Yeah.
And I've just always been a rock girl. Like I've always loved rock music.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
There was a period of time, it's very funny because one of my closest friends, Alexa Stark, when I was like 6 years old, I was obsessed with the Beatles. And she's like, why are you listening to all this old people music? You need to listen to Backstreet Boys.
I mean, Backstreet Boys, I've seen Backstreet Boys twice in concert.
Those boys can sing.
Fun fact. Last summer, they did like 3 straight hours. Still dancing, doing like all sorts of stuff.
Who's your favorite?
I don't know their names.
Oh, okay.
It's a whole thing with work and getting tickets and whatever, but like they do a great show.
I did love them. Yeah. I was obsessed with them. Yeah. I was in love with Brian Littrell. There was like age 7 to like 12.
Yeah.
I was in the pop world. And then I remember it was as we got older and we were in high school, my friend Alexa was like, I'm so sorry. You were so cool for listening to rock music. And I like tainted you.
Ahead of your time. Yeah. No, it's really cool. And so that's kind of where the influences and stuff come from. And then after college, like you do all kind of like the educational side of it, but then obviously now you're in kind of like, I guess, practical world, I guess, the real world. And it's like, what are kind of like the first few things that you're doing after college? Are you like playing in bands? Are you working places? There's music stuff.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. When I was at Bard 2 and I was studying jazz, I was rediscovering some of the bands that I grew up that my dad played, like they're the band. I love the band. And I was like living up near Woodstock, which is where they obviously all resided and lived with Bob Dylan and wrote all their records. And there was like this rich history, and I was just like falling in love with them again. And I was like discovering them as a unit and like their chemistry and what made them so incredible that I couldn't really appreciate as a child, while also like becoming obsessed in the world of jazz and like loving like Thelonious Monk and Bill Evans and like just studying these musical geniuses who started all of the rock music and popular music that we listen to today.
Yeah.
And just like being able to learn that. And it was at a time too, like I was just not really on social media at all. Didn't have Instagram, didn't even have television or cable. I was just like thick into music. And and I loved it. And it was great. And then once I graduated, I worked for this rock photographer. His name's Elliot Landy. He actually shot Bob Dylan in the band. I have some of his photos around here. There's like that photo is his. I have some over here. I need to hang them up, but I'm like wondering, I was like, do I have any photos of his here? No, that's a Danny Clinch photo. But yeah, I did this. So he shot Dylan in the band. He shot Janis Joplin. He shot Woodstock. I ended up working on a fine art photo book of all his photographs of the band that I designed and edited and co-produced. Now, in that 2-year period of time, I was working like 7 days a week. I had no time to play music.
Yeah.
I was sitting in on jazz classes at Bard still, but
Okay.
I remember having that job and saying, I will never, ever have a 9-to-5 job again. I was 24 at the time. Because if I ever do, my music career will never happen.
Yeah.
Because I will never have time to do what I need to do. So, and that's been a thing that I've kind of stuck to, like having to have part-time jobs, which on the one hand makes my life very difficult for stability and structure.
Sure, of course.
And money.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, has given me what I need to do my art.
Right.
So I did this band book. And then once I was done with that, I left Bard. I left the area. I was living in Woodstock, or the area of Woodstock. And I moved to Brooklyn. I tried to do the music hustle for about a year, ran out of money. I was like working 3 jobs, not even gigging.
Yeah.
I moved back home here. I was like, I never thought I would move back to New Jersey.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm graduating from high school. I'll be in New York City. I'll be in LA. Peace, motherfuckers.
Just has a way of pulling you back.
100%.
Yeah.
I moved back home to New Jersey with the intention of moving back to Brooklyn in 3 months. And I've been here for like 7 years.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're in a good spot too, just because like you're close to
Yes.
like a great spot, like a great music town.
Yeah.
In Asbury Park, obviously. And then just like in that area and in this, just the Monmouth County area, really, even like the state, of course, but this particular area just has seemingly like a ton of
Yes.
very talented
Yes.
artists, musicians, all that kind of stuff, doing like all sorts of stuff. Like we talked about Jackson Pines a little bit earlier, and Manny, and like those are two, like Manny's way more rock, they're folk. Like where do you get that from? We've had on like Reese Van Riper, who's like, you know, New Orleans style rock, like that kind of thing, and a rapper, and Renee Maskin, and like all these other people that are just like so all over the map. So you wind up back here and you're just surrounded by other people that are creative like you.
Exactly. Well,
Yeah.
the interesting thing that then happened is I moved back home, immediately started dating someone at that time who we had been talking on and off for like 2 years. He was a very good friend of my brother's. We all grew up together. And he is really like the reason why, like, it's so funny. He like brought me back home, but then I fell into this whole community with Danny Clinch. Literally, it was like December of 2016. Danny invited me. Danny had seen me play drums. That was the first, like, the way I met Danny was he saw me playing one time, and then he invited me to sit in with his blues band. This was in 2015. I was still living in New York. And then when we kept in touch, we were like, oh my God, we have so much in common. The photography, the music.
Yeah.
We grew up at the shore. You're from Red Bank. I'm from Thames River. Awesome. Well, whatever. I'm meeting him. I just played, whatever.
Yeah.
So he invites me to the Transparent Gallery, December of 2016. He's like, hey, you should come by my space. I would love to show you. I have some questions for you. I show up and he tells me, he first asked me, he's like, hey, Rachel, I have these drums here. Can you tune them for me? I was like, yeah, of course. He starts saying, you know, I've got some friends. Like if I say I had like, say like I invited like Dave Grohl to come play, like would he think this was like a joke or is this like a nice drum kit? I was like, no, Danny, this is like super legit. Of course you could. And there were some amps there, some Supro amps. I was like, these are amazing. And then he started telling me his vision of the gallery.
Yeah.
And he said, you know, I really want this place to be a hang. I want this place to be like a coffee house where musicians can come play or come jam and, you know, just this sort of community space. And I was like, you know, well, I know a lot of musicians around here. If you would like, I can help facilitate some shows.
Yeah.
So he was like, that would be great. First show we ever had was Light of Day 2017. And it was myself, Renee, Cranston Dean, and Tara Dante. And we had the show. People loved it. And then it just started. It was just like, hey, let's do one a month. Then it turned into, let's do two a month. And then it just like slowly became this thing that was like, oh, we have shows now all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, we need a real PA system. Oh, we need a bass amp. Okay, we're having shows every week now. This was the gallery Transparent was supposed to close after 6 months. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that. Now it's like a staple of like the whole town.
Yep. So
yeah.
That was supposed to close after 6 months. We were doing all these cool things. Tina, who runs the gallery, Tina Karekas, was doing all these cool things. Obviously, Danny and his wife, Maria. And they just kept extending us. It's like April 2017. Robert Randolph is playing the Pony for the Music and Film Fest. It's midnight. He comes over. We start jamming. So this is the other thing. Danny knew I was a multi-instrumentalist, and we'd have these situations where he knew that I could hop behind the kit. We could throw together a band.
Yeah.
My guitar player, Ryan, came down from New York that day. It was just the two of us, Robert Randolph, and then Danny playing harmonica. And then someone showed up who was playing bass. And then it just started, these things started happening. One day over the summer, Danny's like, hey, my friend Garrett, G-Love, is coming to play the Algonquin Theater. He's going to stop by the gallery. Do you want to jam today? I'm like, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, okay, set up the drums. We used to set up the music at the front of the gallery before Tina had all of her as much furniture as she does now.
There was a lot of furniture.
Have you been in there?
Oh, yeah.
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 So yeah, it's a staple now of Asbury and New Jersey.
Right.
But yeah, and like G-Love shows up one day. It's 4th of July of 2018, summer. Yeah, we weren't even supposed to be open because we were supposed to close in May of 2017.
That's crazy.
And they kept extending us. And then it was like, let's extend you through the summer. Then it's November. You know what? We really like what you guys are doing. Let's extend you through to May.
Yeah.
Then it'd be April rolling around. Let's extend you through the summer again because that's the time everything's happening. Then it's like, See Here Now gets announced. All of these things that a huge proponent of See Here Now was the Transparent Gallery coming in the festival. Obviously, it's C, meaning Danny's inviting these other artists to come show their art because so many musicians, we are multifaceted and are, like we were saying, also visual artists, photographers. So then it's like just this whole thing is exploding. And we're having shows, and then so-and-so showing up, and then Bruce is showing up on a random Saturday in June where it's raining, and no one would ever think he would come. And he's there for 4 hours while we're all playing music. Yeah. So it's kind of crazy how life brought me back here. Yeah. But it definitely did for a reason.
Yeah, for sure. That was a great story. And that's perfect timing, too, because we need to reset the camera and take our break.
Great.
So we're going to do that.
Great.
And then we'll get back into all the stuff.
Awesome.
Because I feel like we have a lot more to talk about.
Yeah.
So this is the Greens We Gotta Say podcast. We're here with Rachel Ana Dobken on my cam. We'll be right back.
The Mayo Performing Arts Center is the heart of arts and entertainment in Morristown, New Jersey. MPAC presents over 200 events annually and is home to an innovative children's arts education program. To see MPAC's upcoming schedule of world-class concerts, stand-up comedy, family shows, and more, head to mayoarts.org or just click the link in our show notes.
Want to give your guests something they'll talk about for years? OMG Tarot delivers spot-on tarot card readings that will make your next birthday party, holiday party, team lunch, or girls' night unforgettable. To learn more, visit omgtarot.com.
All right, we're back for segment 2 of this episode of Greetings from the Garden State. I'm your host, Mike Cam. So we're here with Rachel Ana Dobken. We had a great first segment talking about music and a little bit of Jersey and your background and all the way through the Transparent gallery stuff. During our first segment, I got 2 Instagram messages.
Oh, really?
One from Jackson Pines because I put up a story that I was recording with you and linked your pre-save thing.
Thank you.
So Jackson Pines sent me a message. It was like, that's awesome. And then, do you know Ivy Sharmatz?
No.
So she used to work for
maybe I do.
News 12, and she's like a producer now, or not a producer, a PR rep. She's like won a bunch of awards, and she wrote to me, "That's a huge get. Congratulations."
Wow, that's amazing. Oh, well, I've been on News 12 before, so
That's
maybe
probably
that's why.
maybe that.
Oh, that makes me so happy.
Yeah, so I wanted to say I didn't tell you obviously in the break. I just wanted to tell you there to get like
That's
your real time
so cool.
reaction.
Thank
but
you.
yeah, for sure.
Because I'm doing something right.
Yeah. People know you. That's perfect. It's good for me because then this episode hopefully will get listened to. But yeah, exactly. Okay, so we talked all about all that kind of stuff so far. And then, so I see a lot of your stuff on Instagram. You're like always out playing shows in Asbury, like all over Jersey and Pennsylvania. Like, what's that life kind of like? Just like, because you said always creating, always, like, you know, that has now become your social life.
Yeah.
Is that fun?
Well, yes, it is. It's a lot of work. Well, it's funny because this is part of the goal with this record and just where I'm at as an artist is like really, really, really trying to get out there and tour in a real capacity, which can be hard, especially when you are in a scene like Asbury, which is, you know, there's a lot you can do here, but it's also limiting. It's just like anything else, right? Like you reach a certain point, even in New York City, even in Philly, you reach a certain point where you're like, okay, I've reached my limit here. Now, that might be someone's goal. Maybe they just want to stay and do that. Yeah. That's fine. But for me, I've always been like, all right, springboard, what's next? Like, you know, I felt like college was my first springboard and then Asbury, and then now it's into the region and then eventually the nation, you know, because it's like my goal as an artist is to not just be known here, but to be known everywhere, to tour regionally, to tour nationally, to play festivals. And it's been amazing. It's been a lot of work. I mean, I DIY toured this summer and booked all the shows myself with the exception of some help here and there, which I'm super grateful and for. But like, yeah, I mean, it's great. I want to play more. Yeah. I love playing. I love being out. It is a lot of energy and time. And it's like, you know, I know that this will be airing after the fact, but next week we're going down to Nashville and then we're playing, you know, Frederick, Maryland and then Wilmington, Delaware. And it's all my money. I mean, the guys make their sacrifices too. And I'm so grateful, but it's like, you know, I cover the travel costs and the accommodations when needed. And when you're a starving artist and you're doing what you can to make ends meet, it's extremely difficult because it's like you that's the most stressful thing for me, I think, is just understanding like what is sustainable. Like, like I'm 33 living with my mom because I've been touring all summer, and why am I going to pay rent? Also, I would much rather save my money. I need to when you're on the road. And on top of that, I'm putting out a record and that costs money. PR, marketing, all these things. So, and that's necessary. You need it. It's part of the investment you make. But no, I mean, I love gigging and I just want to play more. Like we have some shows coming up in Philly and New York. I think by the time this is aired, I will have been able to announce it, but I can't yet. End of October, we're playing Brooklyn, and then we're working on something for Philly. And then into the new year. Like the hope is that this record is going to come out next spring, probably early spring, and we'll do a big Asbury show and then be on our way. Like I have a team now and I have management and they're amazing. And I'm so grateful for them because they've like, it's when you are, especially now when you're an artist, you are, and I feel like anything, like we were talking about this before, even for yourself, like you're a content creator, you're editing the video. I'm sure you're doing the audio. Like, do you have a lot of people on your team or is it just you?
No, head chef, chief bottle washer. That's like I had to say. And like, it's hard because it's like, you know, cause you had a couple songs, out already that on Spotify that I saw, Always and Understand.
Yeah. And a whole record. Yeah. You got, those were the two big singles. Yeah.
And, so like, was there a team behind those or was that all you?
With the exception of paying for PR, it was me. But I did an Indiegogo and I'm lucky that I have, you know, supportive people and I've got a great family. And I mean, you know, it's really just my mom. You know, unfortunately, my dad passed of cancer in 2021, which is also a huge part of the story of this record of like the process of getting this done. Some of the songs are about coming to terms with that reality and just accepting the inevitable. I mean, the record's called Acceptance. And it's called Acceptance. It was called Acceptance before my dad died. But I think all of life comes back to acceptance. So, and there are specific songs on the record. There's a song called Bed You Made, which is like really about like grappling with your decisions and then ultimately thinking and reflecting about all these things. But, that's like a tangent, but what was I said? What were we talking?
I'm not really sure.
Content. You're talking about content.
Yeah, like being like a solo person, because like you said, like I have a full-time job, which like pays my bills, keeps my rent paid, my lights on, like all that kind of stuff. But at the same time, it's like you were talking about making something sustainable, especially like a creative endeavor like this is, like what you do.
Yeah. And I have a part-time job, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for the job. I'm a graphic designer, but I can't afford. I can't work more than 15 hours a week. I don't, at this current point in my career, trying to get this out in a real capacity, I just do not have time.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it's just like some people are like, "What do you do for fun?" And I'm like, "Well, we like go out to eat sometimes." But like,
what time is that? Where do I have fucking time for that?
Yeah, exactly. Like all my like trips now, like this whole summer, essentially. Like Chrissy and I just going to like Atlantic City because I'm recording episodes down there, or like
same. I went to LA,
Camden in the summer.
Right, I had a gig in LA, and I made a trip. I went for 4 days, and I made a trip out of it.
Yeah,
it was like
we made a little trip out of it too. It was great. We had an awesome time.
Yep.
But like we wouldn't just be like, "You want to go to Atlantic City?"
Right.
You know, like we would have gotten someplace else.
Yeah.
You know, any other place.
Yeah.
But it's just like a very interesting thing because, like I said, we've had a bunch of musicians on, and like to me, that's a very interesting thing because it's like the creative process, but then also just kind of like, how do you make it work? And that's like a big thing.
I'm struggling with that. If I'm being completely honest with you, every day is a struggle. And I don't mean to sound like dramatic when I say that. I think a lot of people are struggling right now, right? Like it's really hard times. The economy, cost of living is insane. We're like on this hamster wheel of grinding. And where it's like, even when you're working a 9 to 5 that you're getting paid really well, somehow it's not enough.
Yeah, it's never enough.
Like more than ever. Like everyone I know is like, I can't keep up. And it's crazy. But I think the thing, I mean, I have my days where I'm up. I don't really sleep well through the night because I'm up thinking about like, I really have to make a conscious effort to be present in here and now. Yeah. Because otherwise I'm like, it's hard. I want to think about a future and stability and being able to feel financially stable. Because again, like I don't want to live with my mom's house for the rest of my.
You don't? No, that's so weird.
And I feel like that's such a sore spot. And I'm like, oh my God. But everyone's like, no, you're doing what you love. I'm like, yeah, but at the cost of like having a social life sometimes. Yeah. And it's like, and it's hard because I see my friends going out and doing things or playing shows around here a lot this summer. And I was like, I'm just not around, or like, I can't make that time to see them. Yeah. And it's hard because it's like anything else. It's a relationship if you don't water it. And as you get older and as we become adults, it's harder it's just, you have time for like your partner. And I also don't have a partner because my partner right now is my music. Right. Really.
Yeah. It's like a very interesting like life balance for sure. Just because it's like something that you love clearly. And it's just like a part of you. Yes. Such a significant part of you. Yes. And just be like, you know what? We're not going to do this anymore. It's like, it doesn't even make sense.
No, but there are days where I'm just like, fuck you. Yeah. This is so toxic. Like I say, if like music was a relationship or a man in my life, my friends would be like, why are you still dating that asshole?
Maybe meet me for coffee and talk about this. Yeah. Like that kind of thing.
What's up with you? Why are you still dating this person? Yeah. Like that's how I feel about my music career. It's just like, I can't help
awesome.
it. Yeah.
So we'll talk a little bit more about the album, just because I think that's a cool thing. So like we're talking about all these things with like having a team, especially behind this one. Like I think that's another interesting thing too, because like the first 2 singles that you had were mostly you. Yeah. And you could just kind of like with me, like I don't have a team. I could do whatever I want, release whatever I want, whenever. Yeah. And now I'm sure it's like cool to have the team, but then also kind of like, you know, getting like a approval or whatever you need to do,
or like just so much more like us. And it's not, it's like what it took to do the first was, I think it's a couple things. First of all, I released that music in 2018. Yeah. Where the music industry is now in 2022 versus 2018, exponentially more difficult. Like the work that I had to do to put out Always, I've probably had to do 30 times the amount of work just for Cruel. Yeah. No joke. Not even the record, which like I've spent the last 2 months, and again, we're recording this in September. I'm talking all of July, all of August, every single moment of my free time has been making reels, cutting up the music video content, making sure I have all the B-roll stuff edited, colored, ready to go. I mean, up into today, which the single's coming out in real time right now because it's September 11th in 2 days. And I still have like a good probably 20 hours worth of work to make sure I have everything I need for this release set. And now it's like, it's go time. I don't have the luxury of like, I'm just going to have to go day by day by day. Yeah. But it's like trying to prep and plan everything while also trying to have a day job, while also trying to gig. Yeah. Like we're trying to gig. We want to get out there. And that's really important. But it's like, there's no way that I could do this without a team. I'm lucky that I have the most incredible bandmates right now. I have, and hopefully, knock on wood, like forever, because they're amazing. Like Dan Haas, my bassist, and JT Sofo, my guitarist. Like these guys are all in, and it's like where it shows, I'm done. They're striking my gear off stage. I'm going to merch. They're packing the car. They're driving. Like they're making sure that I can have the space I need. But before that, it was all me. Yeah. And like when it's a solo gig, it's still all me. And I'm just like, I haven't put out music in almost like 6 years, 5 years now.
Yeah.
Because I haven't been able to, like, as much as I'd like to say, like, yeah, a lot of it was circumstance. It was like COVID and this and that, but like understanding what it takes to put out music now, to be successful, to get out there in a real way and like break through, it takes so much time and energy and effort. It takes 100% dedication. And I was not at a point until now. I mean, I've been fumbling around the past year because I was sort of like working with other people. I almost had a label deal, but it just wasn't the right situation. But that person helped me tremendously, and he hooked me up with my publicist, and you know, and sort of guided me in the right direction. And then now I have my manager, Matt and Shane from Dim Entertainment, and they've been just like amazing. I mean, like I talk to those guys every day, and they know what it takes, and it's like, you know, and they know where I'm at too, where it's just like, I'm trying my best.
We all are.
Yeah. Right. But it's like, I mean, again, it's like the to-do list every single day. But like, yeah, I mean, when I put out Always, like I didn't even have any video content. TikTok wasn't a thing. Right. Now TikTok is everything. Like if you are not on, I'm being told now, once a song comes out, I have to post every single day, at least once a day for 30 days. And even my social media woman today, she was like, hey, listen, like put some money behind this post because it's going to do really well. But you need at least 30 days because otherwise the algorithm like shuts it off and you lose all of your progress with it. And I'm just like, oh my God. Yeah. What? Where can I have time to go for a walk? Like, no, you can't. When can I go?
Do that while you're walking, honestly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like anyone who's successful now, and I see these like podcasters and people, because I mean, like yourself, you know, it's just like, it's so much work. And it's not that I'm not willing to do it. It's just when all the other things in life, and then again, you wake up one day and you're like lonely and you're like, whoa. Yeah. Where do I find the time? It's like you said, the work-life balance. Right. It's getting harder and harder. But I guess one could argue as you continue to reach success, that's just how it is.
Yeah, for sure. It's like, it's one of those things like we were talking about, you know, with various things, like whether it's the show, whether it's your music, whether it's the gallery that we were talking about before, like as things start to grow and get bigger, right? There's just like more things that you have to like worry about. Like I had to like send in like a sponsorship agreement form. I've never had to do that in 2 years.
That's exciting.
Yeah, it's really exciting. But like finally had to do that just because it's like a little bit bigger of a sponsor and they're a little bit more buttoned up and how they do things. So I had to like draft something.
Which also makes your life easier though.
It totally does.
Now you're like, I know the process and I can reach out to these other people, and maybe you weren't ready for that then, and now is the time.
And now now I could totally do it. But like all my other sponsors before would be like, this is my deck, this is what it costs. Yeah. There's my, you know, you could do like wires or checks or whatever here at the LLC. Right. And like, that's it. Yeah. Yeah. And then they're like, okay. And they just like send it through the invoice, whatever, and they're done. And this is like, well, we need this plus the invoice plus, you know, like your LLC information, all this other stuff. And I'm like,
I know. Oh no. And that was a huge thing too. I mean, it took me like 4 months of just dealing with legal things. Yeah. Like I have a lawyer, and I'm so grateful because everyone on my team is absolutely amazing. And they totally get it. Like my publicist, Maggie, she's incredible, and we're like totally cut from the same cloth. And like, you know, I feel very grateful. It is hard, and it for me, and I don't know about you, I think other artists struggle with this, but just like I'm very affected by the noise outside. I'm very affected. Like I can go on social media and I can be in the best mood, and like that energy of just seeing shit will bring me down. Yeah. And then I have to spend like 3 hours getting out of a hole. Like I really need to make a conscious effort to be like, what is going to be good for me? Like, I'm just so sensitive. I'll get an email from someone. I'll be like, oh my God, do they hate me? Like, I think they hate me. Like, it's just.
I think that doesn't happen to me. I think my biggest problem is like, and Chrissy always tells me this, is like, there could be like 10 glasses on the table and I like fill them up like a little bit at a time, each one. And that's just like how my brain works. It's like, I'll do 10 different things at once and like, eventually they'll get done. Yes. But it's just like, I have another idea. Like, I want to do this. And like that pulls me away from something else. And it's like, this show is like, not one of the few things, but like a significant thing that's actually got from like the planning stage to like being a successful full-fledged thing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You should be proud of that.
I am very proud of that. But then like on her end, she's like, I'm doing this one thing till it's done.
But I also think this is a reflection of the times we're living in.
Yeah.
Like there's no way to keep up with everything. Like, well, and this is going back to what I was saying, like as an artist, as a musician now, if you are really, really trying to make it, you are project managing 8 different projects at once.
Yeah.
You are business leader. You are frontman or woman or bandmate. And if you're in my case where you're a front woman and you're handling all the back ends of things, again, like my guys have been so great and they're so dedicated and they're helping me in the ways they can, but it's mostly I'm taking care of a lot of the shit. You are booking agent. And even when you have a booking agent, you are still booking yourself. Yeah. Otherwise, you're just going to settle or get shit that's not going to work for you.
Yeah.
You are social media manager because you have to have a presence online.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to communicate with your fans. You are also like creator, writer. Oh, like that's creating the art
job of doing what you're doing.
Literally the most important part, and it gets lost. You have to practice. You have to put in the time. You have to get proper rest. You have to put in your hours shedding. Then you also have to be like, so aside from the writing, you also have to be the performer.
Right.
Yeah. And then you're like, where's the rest of my life? Where's my health, my happiness, my relationships?
Right.
So like,
when do I eat? You know, like
that.
Yeah.
When do I shower?
Yeah, another big one. It's just crazy how like the actual thing that you've always wanted to do, like music, or I've never always wanted to do podcasting. It just kind of like became a thing that I started doing during COVID. But like that becomes like you said, the least important thing. Like this is the best part of the job.
Agreed.
But it's like the least. I mean, if I don't have stuff recorded, I don't release a show.
Sure.
But if I don't do all the other things, no one ever hears it. They're just like shouting into mics that no one will ever listen to.
Right. Well, and then it's also like on top of that, so you're social media managing, but you're also the content creator.
Yeah.
Like that's again the same thing. Like, sure, yes, and I've paid videographers and people to do things for me, but there's also the sense that it's like, well, a lot of this stuff I do myself, and I want to. It does take a lot. I've found that the video stuff has taken me the most amount of time because I'm not efficient, because I'm just like not well versed in the world of Premiere. I figured it out, but
it's just reps, really.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's just maddening because then one day again, you wake up and you're like, why do I feel so crazy? Why am I letting all of the noise and other people and maybe what they think about me or what this person affect me, when it's like, let me just get back to this.
So
please,
like
because
guitar.
This is like, oh, and then you pick up the guitar and you start singing, or I start writing something and I'm like, what the hell? Like, I feel so much better. Like, right. That's my purpose. It's not all of this out here, but all of this has to happen to like let happen. This be out there.
Right. Yeah, totally.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I love that rabbit hole we just went down.
That's what it means to be a musician or an artist in 2023.
If you take anything away from this episode, let that be it.
If you want to do it, kids.
Yeah. It's going to be really hard and it's going to suck a lot.
You're going to lose a lot of relationships, but you might write some good songs.
That's true. Yeah, exactly. Okay. So we got about like 8-9 minutes left. I do want to ask, because we've talked about playing gigs and doing all that kind of stuff, places in Jersey that you really like to play.
Oh my God. There's so many. Okay. Well, anywhere in Asbury, that's great. The Pony, the Wonder Bar, are my two the Saint or it's not really happening anymore.
Yeah.
But
I went to a show at the Saint once last year.
Best. I don't know what's going on there, but whatever. So, every venue in Asbury, like even Low Dive, or which used to be APYC, obviously the Gallery, which is a really unique space. The Lanes is always got great sound. They have amazing people who work there. Other places in Jersey. Why am I like blanking? It's really interesting. I haven't played much in New Jersey outside of Asbury Park.
Really?
We've played Philly, we've played upstate New York, we've played New York City, we've played Brooklyn. Now we've played a bunch of places in Philadelphia or in PA. I've played Boston, I've played Burlington. We did play this place in Frenchtown.
Okay.
Called Artie's over the summer, which was actually a really cool spot.
Yeah.
We played with this band, Gamblers from Long Island, and they were amazing. We had a lot of fun, even though there were not many people there.
Are there places, maybe a better question, are there places that you are like, this is on my list. I really
Crossroads was a great spot.
I like
played there.
Crossroads.
Yeah.
I saw Brian Fallon at Crossroads.
And that's like
That was
his, I
dope.
think that's like his spot.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to play Pino's. I've heard great things about Pino's.
The Patterson
Uh,
or Jersey City. I forget where that is.
it's somewhere in
We'll
North
look that up.
Jersey.
We'll make a note in the notes.
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely played places in Jersey City that are great. The FM Bar was great. I think they closed down. FM Bar or Fox and Crow was great. Where was that? Oh God, Pet Shop
Pet Shop.
was
Yeah.
great. Played there.
That's a cool spot. I like Pet Shop.
Yeah. I think like though, in terms of, and I used to play in this band Low Cut Connie, and we played Anchor Rock Club. We played some places in Atlantic City.
Yeah.
Which were cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Is there a place you're just like, I really want to play there?
In terms of Jersey,
Yeah. It's a Jersey show. Come on.
I don't really know. Like, I would have to say probably, and you know, Asbury is really like, from what I've experienced, and
Yeah.
maybe it's just because I'm from here, it really is like the hot music community in
Oh, for
Jersey.
sure. Yeah, yeah, definitely.
So the fact that I've kind of played the Pony and played the Wonder Bar,
Yeah.
I know we've played to 700 people at the Pony before, and it's
Yeah.
an amazing, amazing, amazing experience.
Right.
That was last December. We opened for Low Cut Connie, and the show was, if not sold out, very close to it. You know, I would have to think about that, because again, like I've been so focused on like playing regionally in terms of outside of New Jersey.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing. The state is so small that it's like, you kind of like don't want to deplete your market, you know?
Yeah.
Like if we're going to play a big show in New Jersey, it's going to be in Asbury Park,
Sure.
because that's our home and that's where we'd want people to come. But
Yeah.
I would say, well, you tell me some places you think I should play in Jersey, or some places that you,
I mean, well, that's a tough one just because it's like you played the big ones. Like the Pony obviously is like, to me, like kind of the mecca of like, you know, is it the biggest venue in Jersey? No. Like PNC, places like that are obviously like way bigger.
right.
But at the same time, it's like, it's the Stone Pony. Like everyone knows,
legendary.
you know,
I
like
know.
that. And I feel like the Starland Ballroom and places
Oh
like
yeah,
that
Starland for sure.
are places that I've just been like hearing on the radio, like when I was a kid, like, oh, this Saturday at the Starland Ballroom, whatever. They do like a lot of like punk stuff, I think.
Yeah.
The Starland Ballroom. But you know, like you said, there's so many places, and it's just like, you know, like I've seen a bunch of shows in Morristown at like the Mayo Performing Arts Center, and they are a sponsor and they do great shows there, or like the Count Basie Theater. But those are also like way different vibes than like a Pony or, you know, any place like that.
Yeah.
Like I saw an artist at the Pony, and she was like one of my favorite artists.
it?
It's Samantha Fish. She's like,
Oh yeah, she's amazing.
she's unbelievable.
My friend Matt Wade plays with her.
Yeah, so she played
There.
the guy with the long hair. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how long he's actually been in the band.
Oh, okay.
When did you see her?
This was November 2016.
Oh, I don't.
Or no,
think
not
he was-
2016. November 2020.
Recently.
Yeah.
Yeah, then he was playing with her.
Yeah. Because then I saw her like at Count Basie. I saw her at the MPAC.
Yeah, she's awesome.
It's like, but it was two totally different shows.
Yeah.
Like Red Bank and Morristown were
course.
like
Yeah,
a little bit different.
Yeah, of
And then like
course.
the crowd on like a Thursday night in like the winter in Asbury Park, which was so awesome.
yeah, I know.
But I digress. So, okay, yeah. So I think that's cool. We talked about a lot today, and I want to make sure we get this under an hour, and we hit everyone with the stuff that they need to know about you, like links, you know, where they can listen to stuff. You know, we'll talk.
Yeah.
We'll hit them with the album again.
Yeah,
when it's coming out.
And I realize I haven't really mentioned this. Maybe I have, but like I am a multi-instrumentalist and I play all the drums on my records.
Yeah.
And that's a thing that this record in particular coming up, I played drums and guitar. I wrote a lot of the guitar parts and everything. But I feel like in terms of skill and my playing, it's the best of all the instruments that I've ever, like, I feel like it's just one of those records where it's just like exponentially showing a growth of like, okay, wow, like I've pushed myself and I got there. And like, I'm excited and proud for even just that. Because I think people will hear it and hear that. Oh, I should say people have already told me, including my bandmates, saying like, they're like, this is just such a level up from everything you've done before. So yeah. And to answer your question about links, yes, I guess you'll put that all in the
it'll be everything will be in the show notes, even if you miss something.
Yeah. And follow like on all the streaming platforms, whatever you like to listen to, because that means a lot. and it helps me.
Yeah.
It helps us big time.
Yeah. And like we said at the beginning of this episode, like there's a lot of things. Like you have the single coming out, Cruel this week, which is going to be September 13th. And then this is going to post like a month or so after that.
Yeah.
There'll be like another single coming out. I thought you said like around then.
Probably
maybe like
the
a little
following
before,
week.
a little after.
Yeah.
And then the full album in the spring, I think you said, right?
Probably early spring.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. So then there'll be a lot of stuff happening. And this is good. You know, like combining audiences and getting all the stuff out for you and all that, which is really cool. But this episode has been awesome.
Thank
I had a great
you.
time
Same
chatting with
here.
you and learning more about you and talking about being artists and all that kind of stuff. So we'll make sure we put all the links and stuff in the show notes for you so people can go click it, check it out. The new music, the old music, everything in between.
Yeah.
Obviously, greetingsfromthegardensstate.com, the website for the show, will be in the show notes as well. So you can check out all of our other episodes. This is going to be episode 101. So we have 100 more. This is like the start of the second 100.
That's awesome.
So you're like, you missed episode 100, but that was the battleship, which is, you know, it was a big thing.
You know what? I have a really funny story about 100. Can I share this? Okay,
Sure.
so when I was a little kid, I hated people in costume.
Okay.
Scared the shit out of me. I don't know. Was this a thing for you? For some people,
Like
it is.
Halloween costumes?
Like
or
just-
like Mr.
no.
Met? Or like,
Yes.
okay.
like the-
mascots.
Right.
Yeah.
You'll know what I'm talking about when I start explaining this.
Yeah.
So we were driving to Florida. I was like 3 or 4 years old. I don't remember this. We roll up to some McDonald's and we are apparently like the 100th customer at this McDonald's.
Oh, God. The clown came out.
Wait, just wait. Not the fucking clown. It gets worse. So we're there and we're waiting in line, and then we get up and we go to order, and the woman's like, or whoever is like, "Congratulations, you're our 100th customer." And out comes the fucking Hamburglar man.
Oh, the Hamburglar. We just hung out the Hamburglar the other day.
I think and I start screaming bloody murder,
Yeah.
like crying hysterically. My parents like, "Oh my God, we have to take her outside." It's like, who wants to see that? That and Grimace, those things are still haunting my dreams.
Yeah. So it's serendipitous that we're not at the 100th.
101 is meant to be.
Yeah, because we would have sent some type of mascot to be like, congratulations, you're the 100th episode.
I would have had a crazy PTSD.
Oh, man.
God.
So, okay. Yeah. So all the links will be in the show notes. Like I said, this is episode 101. So the start of our second 100 is here. Congratulations on all the music coming out and everything that you got going on. Hoping for more after this.
Thank you so
So, and again, this has been the Greetings from the Garden State podcast. I'm Mike Cam. We were here with Rachel Ana Dobken, talking about all of her music career and all that kind of stuff. Thank you for listening, and we will catch you next time.
It's up to your own